It's the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast, your source for anything and everything indie horror. Here's your host, Otis B. Dreads. I thought I was going to have to open the show as it's 8 o'clock. Do we know where our rotting Ricky D is?
He's here. He's here.
Hey, do you know where your indie horror is? It's right here. Right here, the Indie Horror Junkie Podcast. And, of course, Indie Horror Junkie, the magazine, the podcast, Facebook groups, the Buzzsprout. You can help support our nasty, nasty habit of indie horror by going over there and becoming a supporter for a monthly donation. Help us support our wonderful, wonderful habit of indie horror. How you doing, sir? You were off last week. Mama Ricky D.
Mama Ricky D.
had a birthday. I hope it was a very fun-filled birthday for her. Glad you're back.
It was. She enjoyed it. The whole family got together, so I figured this was a good enough opportunity to bust Amy's cherry and let her on the show. So it worked out.
Oh, it did. It did. She was a fantastic co-host, and I look forward to her. Not saying I look forward to you not being on the show, but I do look forward to co-hosting with her again at some point.
Hey, for sure.
We got a great show. If we have any fans of good practical effects, good special effects, we got one of the best in the business, I think, right now.
We do. I'm a big fan of his work. He's got a huge following. I've got to meet him a couple of times. Great guy. But like I said, tremendous makeup effects artist. I mean, one of the best in the business, and I'm really looking forward to chatting with him.
That's right. Mr. Joe Castro is who we're talking about, and we're going to bring him up in just a minute. As I mentioned, hey, all of the links that you need are right down there, our Facebook group, our YouTube page, which some of you may be watching over there on YouTube. And I apologize, some of the, we have some people jumping in. Brenna is here, and then a lot of Facebook users. So my laptop is charging, so I don't have that out to be able to see who exactly it is. I think with StreamYard, you have to, give an okay to take and use your profile picture or something of that nature. So if you don't do it, you're coming up Facebook user, but I will put out, your questions. You don't need a name. Get your special effects questions ready. There's also outside of that, there is a Indiegogo campaign that I would like to, as always, throw out there. Something that I'm involved with. Maybe get my little acting feet wet. The Hellvirus Haunted Asylum of Horror is over there on Indiegogo. So travel on over there, check out all the cool perks, and yes, yours truly is Dave the Stoner in this one. It's gonna be a fun time. And you know what? Speaking of upcoming deals, you Death Walks Among Us Part 2 of the trilogy is about to premiere here soon, right?
Yeah, basically the plan we've got in place right now is we've got a teaser trailer that's actually going to premiere on the Halloween DeathWalksAmongUs.com website as well as YouTube, and it's going to premiere on Friday the 13th, of course, because Jason is a part of that whole movie. And then the movie itself is going to actually premiere on Halloween Day, and then we're going to premiere, at least the plan is, to premiere Part 3, the final piece of the trilogy, actually on November 24th. Which is the actual anniversary of the original Nightmare on Elm Street, which is perfect because Freddy is a big part of that one. So,
man, this sounds good. This is bringing all the icons together. I'm really excited. If you haven't seen the first one, where can people go and see the very first one?
You can see the first one on the website, HalloweenDeathWalksAmongUs.com. They've got a separate section for each of the films. The first one is actually on the section with the first film, as well as stills, a breakdown of the story. And the bottom line with this thing is that we didn't want to just do a shot-by-shot recreation of Halloween because, in my opinion, you can't improve on perfection. So I figured if we're going to do something like that and do an homage, let's try and do something different, a little unique. So we decided to kick open the whole shared universe idea with part 2 and 3, and invite a whole bunch of other classic creatures in. But the good thing that we did, or at least the interesting thing in my part, is that we tied them all into the same storyline. They all have a purpose and all dwell for a reason, not just because they're brought in from like some kind of multiverse thing. They're all tied in with the story. So I think that was the hardest part, plus also the most satisfying part.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Speaking of Jason and the Friday the 13th and that whole this Friday, the same day you guys are showing part 2. I have a wedding to go to, and it's a good friend of ours, and she is a big horror fan. They're our movie going couple. We go watch all the new horror movies together.
Mm-hmm.
And it's great. So everybody's gonna have these little masks, so I had to go out and I bought me. I was like, "Is this
He looks familiar.
for a wedding?" So I'm gonna show up as Jason for the wedding because I thought it would be nothing more appropriate than to go to a masquerade on Friday the 13th with Jason.
Absolutely.
So that's my plans here coming up. But hey, in the immediate future, we have Mr. Joe Castro. Man, I don't know what to say about this. Going through his IMDb, it's like, I don't know, 80 some projects, and you got, tons of projects coming up. And hey, without further ado, I got a little trailer to play for us. You guys probably, know him or of his work, his monster creations through maybe some things like Terror Toons.
Terror Toons.
1, 2, 3, and 4. We're going to talk a little bit about that right after this. We're going to come back after this trailer with Mr. Joe Castro.
Hey, look at me. What are you up to?
This is not cartoons. It's Terror Toons. This is where it all began.
Well, that's a wild ride. Good evening, Joe. Welcome to the Indie Horror Junkie podcast. Thank you for taking some time out with us tonight. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great, Otis. I'm doing great, Rick. It's very great to be. It's good to be here. I just want to say thank you very much for having me on the show.
You're very welcome. Let's start right off with while we got people here, we got a good crowd. So in case anybody has to leave during the show, let's make sure we get out everything that you're working on. Let's talk some a little bit of past projects. Let's talk about what you got coming up. And then we'll get into maybe some nuts and bolts of some special effects and movie making. How's that sound?
That sounds excellent. Thank you so much. I just want to take a moment and say thank you for all that you do, for all that the podcasters do, because indie filmmakers are very. It's very hard for us sometimes to get the word out, and so what you do is a vital and crucial part of our industry. And I thank you very much.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely take pride in trying to, like we talked about from the get-go, it's our whole concept here is to shine light on the people like us, the indie filmmakers like us, because we don't have the monster marketing machine behind us. We don't have the studios behind us. So if we could use each other's abilities and each other's things like this, podcasts, magazines, everything else to get the word out for everybody, then it's just everybody helping each other.
Right on. Yeah, well, I'm really excited about this new movie. It's been making the festival circuit right now, and it's actually has a huge article in the brand new issue of Fangoria magazine, and they plaster my face all over it, I've been in Fangoria several times, but it's always an honor and a privilege to be in Fangoria magazine. And it's a movie titled Saint Drogo. It's called Saint Drogo, and if you haven't heard of it, or you Google it right now and take a look at the trailer, it's a super slick, very dark and twisted horror film. It throughout the course of the film, it just keeps getting more depraved and depraved and depraved. And at the very end, it's the most depraved thing that you think could happen to the main character happens to the main character.
Wow.
you know, it's a family film. What are you gonna say?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's an amazing film, and it's directed by Michael J. Ahern, Ryan Miller, and Brandon Paris. Those three gentlemen brought me on board the project, and they had a really strong, slick concept of what they wanted me to do. But ultimately, they let me, they just let me run with it. They like gave me some creative liberty to create some things that I've never created before. That's all I'm going to say about that. So
And that's one of the big things, real quick, about when I talk, because I was talking to somebody just today about independent films as opposed to the studio films, is that with the independent films, you get a lot more creative liberty. In other words, what we see on the screen is probably a lot closer to what you intended. Whereas with a studio film, a lot of times what you do and what you create, you hand off to them, and it might be something totally different that we see on the screen, which is not usually a good idea.
You know, it's like in studio films, they're making a cheeseburger. You know, they know everybody wants a cheese. The majority of the public just wants a plain cheeseburger. They don't want mustard. They don't want ketchup on it. They want a plain cheeseburger, and they make the cheeseburger, and then you can fill in the rest yourself. Whereas opposed to, you know, independent films, we load all the toppings on it, and we throw.
We load it up for you.
Yeah, exactly.
We make the Royale with cheese.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I want to talk about this an amazing director that I work with now. I'm coming up on my 6th feature with him. His name is Chad Farron. And if you haven't heard of Chad Farron, you need to Google Chad Farron. Every one of his films is entertaining. And he doesn't do a slow burn. He doesn't make films that are that skimp on anything. He delivers the story, the high quality acting with named talent. He's got tons of special effects, and of course his ideas and his concept in his movies are all sick and twisted, just like we love him. And he has a movie that is just now coming out that I actually get the chance to star in with Susan Preber, Jake Busey, Bailing, Kate Patel, and the whole list of named talent. It's called Scalper. It's the sequel to a movie that I worked with him on called Nightcaller. And it, just like the title says, it's in there. It's all in there. There's a lot of scalping. There's a lot of face peeling off, and I got a chance to do an amazing makeup. I'm not going to say what it is on Bailing, if you're familiar with Bailing's work. So you take Bailing and then you add something crazy like my work to her, and you get something amazing, you know. So I'm super proud of that film.
Looking forward to it.
And then, of course, The Old Ones, which is an H.P. Lovecraft story. And it's just loaded with practical effects. Chad literally let me just like do whatever I want. I got to make all kinds of creatures and sea creatures and creature human hybrids, just like in the H.P. Lovecraft story. It's loaded with amazing practical effects. It's a great story. It's called The Old Ones. It's making its festival circuit right now. And I'll end with two more. I got Tip. I want to talk about a movie called Tip. I just finished. It's basically a 90-minute slasher movie in 10 minutes. So everything you love about a slasher movie squeezed into just 10 minutes.
Oh, wow.
Does that make sense?
Oh,
It makes sense, and I got to see it.
Yeah.
If you don't have time to watch a 90-minute slasher movie, you want to watch Tip. And it's I have a lot of names on my plate right now. It's directed by Anthony T. Tran and produced by Bobby Duncan, and it has a whole bunch of new fresh faces in the film. But Anthony and Bobby brought me in as the heavy hitter to make all these on-screen kills, and they did not hold back. They were like, Joe, whatever you want to do with these kills. They had the actual kills written down, but they let me build them and make them as elaborate as I wanted them to be, which is always an honor. Yeah. So like I said, it's a 90-minute slasher movie squeezed all into 10 minutes, which I love, you know. And then lastly, I want to talk about Terror Toons 4, which is it's actually the 5th sequel to our franchise. We actually have Terror Toons 1.5 that most people don't know about.
I did not.
People don't know about it. And that comes with, that's on the Terror Toons 2 DVD. It was released with Terror Toons 2, but it will be in the quadrilogy, which we are shipping out this coming Friday. You're going to be able to own all 4 movies in a collector's set. I think I have this right here. I don't know if you can see.
Yeah, I seen this.
Oh, cool.
Great.
The lunchbox, yeah. And you got the movie inside. Anyhow, that's the lunchbox. It's the Terror Toons 4 quadrilogy. I'm super proud of the movie. It has everything the fans loved about the first film, but more in the 4th film. It got Linnea Quigley, Brink Stevens, Debbie Rashawn, even Emily Booth, the screen queen from the UK, is in it, and loaded with a whole bunch of other amazing characters. Huge cast. I think there were over 150 people in the cast. And
I was going to mention that most people probably saw some familiar faces in that trailer, and
I
namely
did.
Brink Stevens and Linnea Quigley. Yeah.
yeah, I use Brink in every one of my films. She's an amazing, talented woman, and she actually wrote, directed, and stars in a big portion of the film. The film is an anthology because it's the fourth one. We have 4 stories in it, and she wrote and directed and stars in a portion of the film. And she did an amazing job. I mean, really, she made a classic, like grim fairy tale kind of Terror Toons kind of a take on the film. So I'm really excited to see her work. That this was her directorial debut, and I've known Brink since 1985, and I know that she has an amazing gift, and more people need to see her work. And so I asked her straight up. I said, I want you to direct something. I want everybody to see what you can do. And I think she's gone on now. She's directed a couple of things. She just directed Sorority Babes in the Slime Bolorama Part 2.
Right.
Yeah, she did a great job with that. So yeah, I'm super proud of this one. But yeah, and I got a whole other slew of stuff coming out too. There's got a whole bunch of Indiegogo campaigns I'm a part of, and I'm looking forward to working on some new stuff coming up in the future. But check out the IMDb, and there'll be all the rest of the stuff there. Yeah, thanks for stuff.
Now where can people just keep updated with what you're doing? Do you have
absolutely.
a website, or just follow you on Facebook?
Yeah, Facebook's the best place to reach me. I'm there every day, like a lot of people are, which is facebook.com/Joe.Castro, or on Instagram, it's Joe_Castro_director. And if you want to check out all my entire library of films, you can go to www.terrortoons.tv. You can stream my movies there, and you can purchase hard copies there. We up-res all 4 Terror Toons movies, even the first ones, to the 4K Blu-ray, which is coming out this Friday, and it looks amazing. My husband, Steven Escobar, who I produced the films with, has spent like the past 6 months researching and implementing the technology that the studios are using now to upgrade the movies that were, basically shot digitally or on video back in like the early 2000s. So it looks amazing. I'm super proud of the new release.
Oh, well, we got a lot of people in the chat that are saying, "Oh, can't wait to see Terror Toons 4. Can't wait to see this. Oh, I got to have that box set." And I'm with them. I'm with them on the box set and part 2 or part 4.
As soon as we get off on this show, I'm going to find some room on my shelf here for that lunchbox because it's coming here.
I just want to say that when you watch Terror Toons 4, I promise both of you that you will see things you never thought you would see. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh, wow. All right. It's on now.
Yeah. You'll see some things you never thought you would see.
That's if that's not intriguing, then you got me hook, line, and sinker, Joe.
Because we shot the movie over a period of 10 years.
10 years?
10 years. Yeah. No, because Brink's directorial debut was attached to the project, everything about the project had to be of the caliber and level that would be representative of her and her career and respectful to her directorial debut. And I made sure that everything about it was of the same top-notch quality. And in doing so, we shot over a long period of time. And so different people came and went from the set and saw the things that we were creating. And I was really, hoping that when it was finally released, that some of the things that I wanted to be truly original would never have been talked about or seen before. And I'm so happy that we were able to accomplish that. Yeah.
Awesome.
And that's the beauty, I think, of, indie horror. You don't hear a lot of I'll call it mainstream horror, big Hollywood horror. You don't hear a whole lot. You're going to see something you've never seen before. That phrase usually comes from the indie horror community because they have that freedom of expressing their creativity. And when a director says, "Joe, you have the floor," oh my goodness, your eyes must light up, and you're like, yes. Who knows what's going to come out of that head of yours?
Sometimes I think to myself, I don't say it out loud anymore, but I used to tell directors, if I give you what you want, you're going to be disappointed in what you missed.
Wow.
Yeah, that's
Profound. I like
pretty,
that.
yeah, that's pretty powerful.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
And
So
speaking of which, really quick, one other film I wanted to touch on. Obviously, I'm a fan of your work, Joe. I've known you for many, many years. Finally got the chance to meet you and Steven recently over at, I believe it was Tampa Bay Screams. We actually got to meet. But one of my favorite creature of all time has always been werewolves. How did you enjoy making that werewolf in The Beast Comes at Midnight? I mean, because I got to see the film, but I haven't had a chance to chat with you about that.
You know, first of all, I just want to give a big shout out to Ed McKeever and the entire team of The Beast Comes at Midnight. Those
Great
are some people. I consider them family. I consider them brothers. And, you know, I work very closely with the director, Christopher Jackson, to make that creature. Now, most people need to know that the film is it is a family-oriented film, and it's a very beautifully done film. It has the type of storyline that everybody can relate to. That's why it's a family film, you know. And so when I was creating the creature, I worked very closely to make sure that we were all on the same page. You know, it's just an honor and a privilege to make the title character for a feature film. And then also I got to play the man that turns into the werewolf in the film. I'm going to toot my own horn here. That was my first real big villain gig. And so, you know, what happened was I did a Photoshop design of what I wanted the pre-werewolf to look like on my face, and I sent it to the director to see. I said we should probably, you know, put contacts in his eyes, and the teeth should kind of look like this. So maybe cast someone that's willing to have the contacts in their eyes. And then, like a day later, he sends me a message and he goes, "Joe, we want you to play the werewolf." I thought it would be my honor. And then, I didn't even audition. They had never seen me perform. I don't have a demo reel. I mean, I've been in lots of little, you know, indie films along the way, kind of like Tom's. It would be like if Tom Savani had a demo reel, right? He didn't have no demo reel. You just, whatever, you've seen him in his work. Anyways, so we go to set, and it's the first day that I play the man that turns into the werewolf. And the director says, "Okay, Joe, I want you to be crawling across the ground, and you're in pain because the werewolf's coming on, but you have a cloth of the girl that you're seeking out, and just her scent will keep the beast at bay. So I want you to smell it, you know, to keep it kind of subsides the pain of you turning into the Wolfman." Okay, and we're like literally in the swamps of Florida, right? In the middle of the summer, I'm crawling in mud. There are bugs everywhere. I'm sprayed down with insect repellent, and I'm in a raggedy clothes and covered in head to toe in makeup like I'm a bum. And he goes, "Action!" He's like 50. They're like 50 yards away at Video Village, and so I start crawling across the ground, and I'm just like 100% from the beginning. And then I smell the thing, and I raise it up to the sky. Oh! I scream out, "Cut!" Silence. And
then take 13, right?
Yeah. It's just like silence. Cut. And then I like about 5 seconds later, I hear, "Yay! We have a werewolf movie." Oh, that's all I wanted to hear. Thank you, Christopher Jackson. Thank you, Ed, and thank you for listening to my story. But that right there makes it all work. I'll crawl through mud for the director. I will glue. One time, I super glued my lip to my chin because I wanted it to make it look like I had lost my lower lip. Makeup. You know, I'm that kind of artist, effects artist. I'll do what. First of all, I feel like it's an honor to be in someone's film when they ask you to be in a film, and two, you know, we live this life, you know, vicariously one day at a time, and here we are. I mean, I'm going to make it the best. There is no small project anymore. There are no small projects. Every project has to be amazing all the time. You know, someone wants me to put a screwdriver into someone's head. It needs to look real. How do we make it look real? How do we make this look perfect? In fact, when I'm approached by micro budget filmmakers, you know, they have the budget, this and that and the other. I'm like, I'm willing to work with you on your micro budget, but the truth is, all my effects still have to look like a major motion picture. They still need to look amazing. So you're going to have to listen to me on set, and then we're going to talk about this stuff, and we're going to make sure it's amazing. So I don't care what the budget is. It has to represent me and my entire career. I don't care how big or how small it is.
I remember I was going to say real quick, a quote coming into what you were just saying, Christopher Lee. I remember he had a quote about there's a million horrible films out there. The object is not to be horrible in them. So
yeah. There you go. you know, and on that same note, I'm just going to say, you know, you know, I might sound, this might sound like a little bit like a Debbie Downer, but sometimes I'll tell you, sometimes my effects work is it shines. It really shines. And the directors, some of these directors, and you know who I'm talking about, they're egocentric. They have an ego problem, and they will literally trim my effects down to minuscule amounts, so that way people can't see how good it is compared to the rest of the film. It happens. So I'm just going to leave it with this, and we can move on to something more positive. But some of my best work will never be seen simply because of someone's ego.
Wow. Well, you know, I got a couple examples. I was thumbing through some of your pics of some of your work on your Facebook there, and here's a couple that I would like to show. And speaking of realistic, wow,
Nice. Oh, that's sweet.
that
Holy
is
smoke.
insane.
What movie is that from, Joe?
A movie that's out right now. You can watch it for free on Tubi. It's called That's a Wrap. It's been out, for less than 30 days. It's a slasher meta film directed by Marcel Waltz and written by Joe Knitter, and stars Sarah French and Monique Parent and a whole bunch of amazing people. I actually have a cameo in it as well. But that particular death was like, you know, the director Marcel's very, very crafty, very creative. He's like, whenever he wants something specific, he's like, Joe, I need it to be so over the top that when the blood comes out, it hits the wall. Of course, they put it in a white set. You know, the artistic vision of an actual. He's an openly gay director, and you know, we're sometimes working with like females and like with openly gay directors and people like that are on this kind of what's the word I'm trying to use to be PC correct? Just different, just very different and unique.
Yeah,
you get to do something that's never been done before, and like that right there, I haven't seen that done before. And Marcel was very specific about he wanted the blood to come out of the neck and hit the wall and splatter. I think there's like they literally shot like a good 10 or 15 seconds of it. I had like 3 gallons of blood in a high pressure tank, and they shot it all high speed. So all that you're seeing there, it's like hitting the wall, because it's just like a kind of a music video kind of was it Dario Argento kind of shallow film happening. And yeah, that's a great shot. That was a effect in the film. Yeah,
beautiful shot.
Here's another one that when I came across it, I just could not stop looking at it. I'm trying to find the guy's mouth.
Yeah, that's a good one there too. That is
crazy. That's
for director Eric Mathis, who is a fantastic producer, and he's doing a movie called Infernal right now, in the Infernal Fires of Hell, and that's Aaron Groban. And you know, he came over to the house. I'm like, I want to do this thing where the demon's mouth opens up so wide that it's into your chest, you know. And I think I had 20 minutes to apply that. It was the last shot of the night.
Wow. You had 20 minutes to apply that?
See, sometimes, you know, like, you know, I tell the producer will say, Joe, how much time do you need to do that? I'm like, I would love, like, you know, about 2 hours to accomplish it. But he's like, you got 15 minutes. Let's go.
Bring me the stapler.
That's just how it goes, you know. That's just how people don't realize. Doing special effects makeup is not simply about doing the actual makeup.
Right.
There's a lot more involved, you know. And for people that are getting into the industry, like literally, my job is making my boss's job easier. That's my job. And that goes with any really career, if you think about it, profession. But even more so in a world where the director doesn't understand what you are trying to do, because half of what we do, or 90% of what we do, is science. It's science with these chemicals, you know. And so my job is to make my boss's job easier. It's also, my job is also to like literally go into the mind of my boss and extract the ideas that he has and give him what he sees, you know, give him what he sees. But that there Eric Mathis, the director producer of the film, he's really big on letting me run with it. Go with it, Joe. I need a demon. I need this. I need that. Can the demon be like this? Absolutely, Joe. Yeah. And he knows how to delegate authority, which is the trait of an excellent director. Hiring a team that he can trust and count on, and delegate authority for them to do their job, and not micromanage everything.
Right. Letting the department heads do what they're there to do.
Right. Yeah.
I have I got one more pick, and then we can go off because this one is actually you, Joe.
Yeah, that's James Balsamo's Robot Dracula. When I heard the title of the film and saw the poster, I'm like, I need to get involved in this. Yeah. Robot and Dracula, two of my favorite things in life. Wow. And James shot this of me at his studio here in Sherman Oaks, California. And he let me run with it too. He designed the actual robot part of it, and I built it to the best of my ability. And I made some fangs and some contacts, and kept it super simple. Because it's a cool mashup. You don't need to go really heavy on it, but I know he's got some stop motion animation in there of the robot, and he's got Malcolm McDowell in the film.
Oh wow!
Can't go wrong with Malcolm.
Yeah, and he's got Joe Castro. Joe Castro's in the film as well. So
there you go.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So all right, well, because you lightweight touched on it a little bit with somebody wanting to get into, special effects. How did you, because you started at a very young age, according to your IMDb, your career started around 15. How does one get into special effects and get their name out there like yours? Wow, how do you do that?
That's a great question.
How did you start? We'll start there, I guess.
Yeah, well, back in 1980, my father introduced me to Godzilla versus the Smog Monster in 1977. There you go. Rick knows it.
Oh yeah.
It was basically a Saturday afternoon. My dad's like, Joey. You call me Joey, my son. Son, sit here and watch this. You're gonna love it. My dad took a vital interest in what I liked, and he knew I was an openly gay child from a very, very young age. I'm an openly gay man. I've been happily married for 25 years. We just married a year ago. We've been together for 25 years. But my dad, he took an interest in what I liked as a human from the time I was 5. I remember when I was 5 years old, I finger painted this clown, and he looked at it and he could see there was something more there than just whatever at the daycare, right? And then when I was 7, I always liked dragons and dinosaurs. He's like, son, watch this movie. I know you're going to love it. And it was Godzilla versus the Smog Monster, which is actually considered the darkest Godzilla film ever made. It really is, because Godzilla almost dies in the film. There's that part at the end where he's being covered in sludge and he's suffocating in the bottom of the pit. He's like, and you think he's going to die, but he doesn't. And after the movie was over, I said, Dad, how do they do that? How do they do that stuff? And we sat together and we watched the credits roll. This was on like a Saturday afternoon creature features. And they said, look, there it is. The special effects. See that right there? That's how they do it. They do it with special effects. I said, Dad, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And then, from there, it was just a matter of moving in that direction. What do we do? What's the next thing we do? Well, I used to take puppet classes. I went to learn how to make puppets. And then the video cameras came out in 1982. My father, who was a telephone sales representative for drafting equipment. See, they didn't have the internet in 1982. He would literally call people on the phone and ask them if they wanted to buy something for companies. Yeah. He sold drafting equipment. He was a sales rep, and he was also a goat farmer. And my mother was a high school teacher. And together they came up with $2,200 in 1982 and bought me a video camera. And they said, son, here's your college education. I was 12 years old. And then the same year, my cousin Eddie Perez, who was 22 years older than me, I was 10, 11. No, I think 12. I met him anyways, he has a fraternal twin, Eddie and Ernest Perez. They were like 33 when I was like 11, 12 years old. And they had this giant pirated collection of VHS horror films, like every horror film ever made on VHS. And every weekend I would bring home like 12 horror movies. I watched every rated R horror film when I was 12 years old, known to man. Like even all the unrated ones, all the Italian ones. So here's this 12 years old like watching like people, zombies rape women and vomit up, the guts and all that stuff. And he bought me the magazine Cinemagic #6. And if you Google it, you can still find it online today. It's called Cinemagic #6. Every special effects artist from that era knows what I'm talking about. It's a magazine that taught you step by step how to make a rubber mask. It was all in print. And if you could make that rubber mask and follow the directions, there was 16 pages in this magazine. If you could do that, you had the foundation of every special effects artist. So when I was 12 years old, I made my first rubber mask. And now when people come to me, I have parents, my daughter wants to be in makeup effects. What do you think? Where should she start? I say, Google issue #6, Cinemagic magazine. And if she can make a rubber mask and follow the directions, it teaches you how to make a life cast of a person, how to pour it up in plaster, how to sculpt on it with clay, how to make a mold of it, clean it out, and pour it up in rubber and paint it, which is the fundamentals, the foundation of making prosthetics, of making a rubber mask, of making creatures for movies.
I got a question. Speaking of creatures that you've made, Molly Zombie has a question. What's your favorite piece? The favorite piece that you've created? I mean, I know that's probably a tough one because you have quite a few creatures that you've had a hand in making. But can you narrow it down to one for Molly?
Oh, I don't know if I could do that.
How about a couple? Do you have a couple favorite pieces?
That really stick out to you that was enjoyable to make and see on screen?
Yeah, I recently, this is way too difficult. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff I've made over the years. I definitely the werewolf stuff I've done with the Beast with. I'm super proud of that stuff. I just recently made another werewolf film for Marcel Waltz in a movie called Only 7 Days, which is a different kind of werewolf. So I've had the honor of doing 3 werewolf films in my career, and each one of those werewolves, each one has been different and very special to me, because making a werewolf creature suit from beginning to end, like the feet, the hair, the hands, the head, and all that, instead of ordering pieces online or whatever, being able to fabricate one from scratch is always special, And then my husband and I produced and directed a movie called Xenophobia back in I want to say 2018, and it's out now, and it has 7 different alien species in it that's all practical. And if you like science fiction films, you'll love Xenophobia, and you can get it on my website. But the aliens I made for that film are some of my favorite creatures, definitely.
Okay, well, hopefully that answers your question, Molly. Let's see. Where can we go from here? How did you? What was your first? Let's say, gig? I guess. When did you first start getting paid? I'm sure at that young age you were practicing, reading the magazines, how to do these things step by step. When did you first make something that was featured, in a short or anything?
Yeah. So I grew up in near San Antonio, Texas, and after I learned how to make a rubber mask, I entered a national special effects makeup contest. It was in a magazine called Monsterland magazine. And Monsterland was an offshoot magazine of Famous Monsters of Filmland. Famous Monsters, I believe, had already been, they stopped publishing it. And Forrest J. Ackerman, who is the reason why you're having this podcast now, because Forrest J. Ackerman was the first horror groupie ever, and he's the one that came up with Famous Monsters of Filmland. He made another magazine called Monsterland, and it was like more for young people. It wasn't as like adult oriented as Famous Monsters. And he had a contest in the magazine. It was for anyone 17 and younger. It was a special effects makeup contest, and like Joe Dante, the director, and John Carl Beekler, the director, special effects artist, and a couple of other people were going to pick the winners. And so you send in your picture and of the makeup you made, and then the winner wins a trip to Hollywood. And I won the contest.
Oh, so wow!
I got to come out to LA and meet like John Carl Beekler. I was like literally in the studio when they were shooting Ghoulies 2. I got to come home with like a reject version of the foam of Filoni from Ghoulies 2. I actually got to see the pumpkin head demon that comes through the door on Evil Dead 2 at the studio.
Oh my God.
But I couldn't take a picture of it, but I got to see it in person. I got to see the animated, the stop motion animation set of the house with the girl dancing and all that in Doug Beswick's studio. I got to go to the set of Inner Space. Remember the movie Inner Space?
Oh, yes. Love that.
Robert Picard's face changed. I got to go to the movie set, and I got to sit in the art director's chair on this big studio film and be there with Joe Dante on set. And of course, got to meet Forrest Ackerman and go to the Acker Mansion. And
you were how old at this when you won this contest?
Like 15 years old. Yeah, 15.
God.
It's a different time. 15, 16 years old. So when that happened, it was kind of like my face and my mug, and here one more thing. I have a picture of it too. This one I do have a picture. I have a picture of me at 15 years old leaning against the, what's it called? The SUX 2000, the car from RoboCop. They were shooting.
Oh my God.
I have a picture leaning against the SUX. Yeah. I have a picture of that. I'll send it to you afterwards.
Please.
And I'm wearing these like dolphin shorts because it's 1985, and I don't know. It might even have.
Oh yeah, the fashion of '85.
So and it was a real honor and a privilege. But when that happened, my face got plastered all over, and I got to be on the front page of the newspaper in the San Antonio Express and San Antonio Light newspaper. And San Antonio was like the 6th or 8th largest city in the nation at the time. It's even bigger now, but so directors there in San Antonio sought me out, and they asked me to make special effects for their short films. And they were shooting on Super 16 at the time, which is still a big fucking deal. It's like, I'm sorry, I mean, to cuss on your show. It's still a big deal, It's like you had to have at least 30 grand or 50 grand to make a short film back then, because you're shooting on Super 16 or 16 millimeter, and it came with all kinds of equipment. So people hired me, when I was 14 and 15 years old, to do special effects. And there was one guy that was doing a PBS special, and he hired me to make like this young boy into an older man and these different stages of aging. But ultimately, my first big gig was right after high school. A friend of mine and I, he's still my good friend today. His name is Christopher Olivier. We drove out to LA with our twin beds in the back of a U-Haul. His truck was pulling in. I came out with my little truck, a little red Mazda truck. And we came out here because a friend of mine moved out here and said, Joe, come out here. We're going to work on a movie, and we need to put together a crew. So come out here and I'll hire you. I said, well, what day you're starting? We're starting on this date. So come out here a week before then. Okay. So we pull all of our stuff in a U-Haul, and we drive out to Hollywood. And first thing we do is pull over and go right to his apartment to knock on his door and let him know we were there. And when he opens the door, he's like, hey, good to see you. Oh, the movie fell through. We don't have any money.
Oh my God. Welcome to Hollywood.
I love it because you know that stuff happens. You know it.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
He was a kid himself. He was like 3 years older than me. So he didn't have any professional etiquette. He didn't know to pick up the phone and call me and say, "Hey Joe, don't come out." Just 1989. I was 19 years old. We threw everything in the car. We came out here. I think I had $1,800 in my pocket, which would be equivalent to first and last month's rent and about $400 spending money. And at the time, you can't get an apartment in LA unless you have renters like reference is what it's here. Unless you have some sort of reference record of renting. Right. So you have to already have lived here in order to have credit to get another apartment.
Wow.
Catch-22.
Yeah, you can't get one. The only way you can get one is if you find somebody who is sentimental to your situation, who maybe has been in your situation and understands. So we were able to rent an apartment from this realtor who was a foreigner and had experienced the same thing. And and that's how I got my first apartment here in LA. And I had renters reference or renter's credit, or I don't know what it was called now. Yeah, it's very difficult to get an apartment in LA. It's not that easy. Well, Yeah.
I was going to say, let me ask you a question about what you just mentioned. You said you pulled up there, you packed everything, you went to LA, knocked on this guy's door, and he tells you there's no money, and you wish he would have called you before. But in seriousness, though, a lot of times you always hear about people making a move and doing something and thinking it falls apart, but it ended up being the best thing that could have happened to them because their life took off from there. Do you think that's the case here? Or if you would have got that call and came back home, how would your life have turned out?
Yeah, no, I mean, everything happens for a reason. You know,
Yep.
before I got in the car to drive out to LA, my father stopped me on the front porch and he said, "Son, promise me," he put his hand on my shoulder, "Son, promise me you will never stop chasing your dream." "I promise you, Dad." "Okay, good." You know, and that's what happened. You know, I never stopped. You know,
That reminds me of a story that I heard from the TV show The Office when they interviewed the guy, and I can't think of the name, the guy who plays Jim, the main character. He talked about moving out to New York or something. I think it was LA or something, taking the plunge and going out there and trying to become an actor. And he said everything that could go wrong did go wrong. And he said I was miserable. And I called my mom and I asked her basically to come pick me up. And she's told me, give it through the summer or whatever it is. If you still feel this way afterwards, I'll come get you. And then just promise me, though, because you have to call me and you have to say that because I can't have you give up on your dreams. And he said because of that extra time, he ended up getting the audition for The Office, and the rest is history. So you're right. Everything happens for a reason.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like a Debbie Downer, but let me get to let me finish and answer your question about the first gig. So the first year I lived in LA, I worked at Universal Studios in the theme park picking up cigarette butts. But within 2 weeks, I got a job as a production assistant on a movie, and I was making $300 a day, which is great money in 1989. And I had 9 roommates the first year I lived in LA. That's how many came and went. They would come up and like, "I'm out of here." People from Texas would fly out to live with me to see how it was going. And I'd be like, "I'm out of here. I hate this town." And I just stuck it out. It took me 11 months to make a friend that I really trusted. And then I think at 11 months, I also got my first gig. And my first big paid gig was Evil Tunes with Fred Olen Ray. Yeah.
Nice.
And then from there, it kind of just started to barrel roll. You know, then I got Teenage Exorcist, and then I was in with the shop I was working at. I had credibility. You have street cred at that time, you know. And then you just keep rolling with it. You know, I worked on the Roseanne Halloween episodes. I worked on the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when they came from Japan to the United States, and you got to work on Night of the Demons 3 and the Wishmaster movies, and the remake of the TV remake of Humanoids from the Deep, and everything just kind of barreled from there, you know. And I just kept myself busy, you know.
Speaking of busy, here's the question: what's the worst time crunch?
What is that? What you mean, like? Well, like
I'm guessing time-wise.
20 minutes to make that face.
Recently on a movie set, we were shooting at a location in Old Town Pasadena, at a place where it's a famous like a place where they have like these 8 or 10 buildings that are from, like, I don't know, the colonial period, or I don't know, you know, when California was first built or whatever, you know, and all the houses are representative of, like, you know, these amazing what do you call it, where they landmark buildings, you know. And there's like a church there's like an octagon built house, and there's all kinds of crazy stuff, and all the houses are furnished the way they were back then as well. Anyways, we you know, it's a hard in, a hard out. You know, you rent these places, you have to put down like $5,000 or $10,000 for the day, whatever it is. And the director is shooting this scene with Eileen Dietz biting someone's face off. And they said, like, I don't think we're going to get the kill in. It's just going to be off screen. I'm like, no, you got to get this kill in. He's like, can you do it in 5 minutes? And I'm like, put her in front of the camera and I'll do the effect right there on set in front of the camera. So as they're lighting, and I'm like literally like messing with her face, and they're literally like breaking down the lights and walking stuff away as we're trying to get the shot. But yeah, I had like 5 minutes to do something that I would normally take like, 5 minutes to 30 minutes. This is a totally different look altogether. But sometimes you just got to run with it, you know.
Yeah.
One time I was on a movie set, and the actor was having sex with a woman in an airplane bathroom, and the girl was a demon, and she, as they're having sex, the guy melts. It's for a horror comedy called Exorcism at 60,000 feet. And
I've
stars
seen
Bill-
it. Absolutely love
You've
that.
seen it?
I've seen that. Yeah, it's got Bill Moseley's in it.
Yeah,
Oh,
there's
Bill Moseley, yeah.
whole bunch of Kelly Maroney's in it, and
Yeah.
Violet's in it, and that guy from The Mummy. I always forget his name, and he's so funny. He was also in that movie Deep Rising. Anyways, the guy who's having sex with the girl, the day before on the movie set, a light had fallen on his head, and it hurt him almost so bad that they almost had to take him to the hospital, but they didn't. So
wow.
This is what I remember. This may not be completely true, but this is what I remember. He was being a complete douche the next day and didn't want to sit around all day long to do this scene. And he said that he had to get on a plane and they had to shoot his stuff first and get the hell out of there. So the executive producer comes over to me and says, Joe, how long are you going to take to do this scene where he melts in the bathroom? I said, well, I got a couple different stages. We got him first. We're going to put this on him. Then I put an appliance on him, makes it look like it starts to melt. Then we have the melting. Then we got the puppet. I go, you're probably going to want to do it in about 2 hours to do it correctly. He goes, you got 15 minutes. Can you do it? I'm like, oh my God, I can't even glue something down. It's only 15 minutes. So like literally right as they were setting up to do the shot, he tells me this. I'm like, I have to replan the entire thing right now. So what did I do? I pulled a Herschel Gordon Lewis. By the way, Herschel Gordon Lewis is amazing. If you don't know who Herschel Gordon Lewis is, you need to go and Google him right now and watch all of his movies. Herschel showed me how to do this. So I went over to craft service and I found everything that looked like melted skin. And I put it in a box and I made some cups and I put ketchup and salad dressing and gravy and all kinds of little stuff, in these different cups. And I walked this box over to set. And when they said action, I started pouring junk on this guy's head. And then after he had all this junk on his face, I go in the second stage. I took the appliance I had and I sprayed it with spray glue and I just stuck it on his face like that and poured more stuff on top of it. And he's like, next. Okay, what's next stage? And that's how I did it. And I did it in about 15 minutes. And during that time, the makeup people, by the way, most people don't realize this, but makeup artists and special effects artists, they have this thing where they don't really get along. It's an unfair thing. Because makeup artists want to do what the special effects artists do. They're tired of making people look pretty all day long. They want to make something gross. So while I was doing that, the makeup team was like, he can't be doing that. That has salad dressing in it. It's got vinegar and sugar. You can't put that in someone's eyes. It'll hurt them. And so they're like literally trying to stop me from doing this while I'm doing it. Whispering in the director's ear, whispering in the producer's ear. He can't pour that on their face. Meanwhile, they're like, action, go. Yes, yeah, more. And literally in the middle of it, as they went back to check the thing, I went over and they were huddled in a group and they were talking to the executive producer's wife, who was the costumer at the time. And this is like a $500,000 $1 million shoot. They were all like huddled around trying to stop me from continuing to do what I was doing, which was successful. And I stuck my head in this group, and it was like a football huddle. They're trying to stop me. I stuck my head in, and I went, "What are we talking about?" Like that. And they're like, "Oh, well, we just want to know what's going on. We don't even know where you got that blood from. That's not like professional blood. You made that blood. Is that blood okay for them to eat?" And the assistant director went over and stuck his finger in the cup, and "Oh yeah, it's just salad dressing. Let's go. Come on, keep going." And then after it was done, the executive producer came over to me and he hugged me and he said, "Thank you, Joe. You're the only person that could have done that."
That's awesome. That makes it, well worth the threats. Like, Joe, put the ranch down and back away. It's enough.
Go
ahead.
Literally, people have eaten worse on purpose.
Sure.
We put worse things in our mouth on purpose.
Yeah, just look at the old show Fear Factor. Yeah.
Am I still working with?
Yeah, you still working with foam latex?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I do work. I love to work with silicone. Silicone is great for certain things, but it's not necessary for everything. And it's also very heavy, which means, like for instance, I'm building a full body suit right now. And I would like for it to be out of silicone. It's just not going to be that comfortable. And to be honest with you, I don't think people really care at that point. So it's going to be, to see a full body is going to be a wide shot, which means you're not going to be super up close and personal. and it's
Mhm.
going to be covered in slime. It's going to be in a horror film. I don't think people are going to care. Also, the actor will be more comfortable in it, and it'll be easier on, easier off. It's going to be less expensive, and yeah. I still work with foam latex at times. Rob Berman is the master of foam latex. He's one of my mentors and super talented effects artist. And I get all my foam stuff from Rob Berman. If you're not familiar with Rubberware or Berman Industries, Rob Berman, Sticks and Stones, you should Google him and check out his work.
Awesome. We are just about out of time, but I need one last thing from you, Joe. I need you to throw out some words of wisdom, some inspiration, as we like all of our guests to do that are involved. What's the biggest piece of advice that you could give somebody either wanting to direct, which you have done, as you've mentioned, wanting to get into special effects, wanting to get into movie either making or being in a movie? What's the one piece of advice that you can give anybody listening?
Right on. That's a great question. The advice I'd give a young person or anybody wanting to get into actually making stuff, start now. Start right now. Don't put it off, and don't wait for the perfect moment. Because I've been doing this for almost 40 years, I've been doing this for 41 years. We started from the time I was 12 when I made a rubber mask, and I'm just now comfortable with my work. I'm just now, and still uncomfortable. Never stop learning. There's only one way to say this: don't be a fucking know-it-all.
There you go.
Always someone that's more knowledgeable than you and has something that you've never done before. Remain teachable. I learned from 20-year-olds. Still, I'll show up and they'll show me how to do something. I just learned something that I never thought I would learn from some YouTube TikToker yesterday, or day before yesterday, on Instagram, that I'm going to use in a demo like in the next on Monday. So remain teachable. Remain teachable. Keep your ears open. The biggest problem people between the ages of 25 and 35 have on movie sets and when working in the industry is they think that they are the center of the universe and they know everything. And it shows when you're on set if they behave that way. The most uncomfortable people to be around. Working in the industry is not about being an amazing artist. It's about being a team player. It's about making your boss look cool, and it's about really and truly making other people feel amazing about themselves, because that's ideally how you're going to be remembered. You're not going to be remembered for all of your amazing accomplishments. You're going to be remembered for how amazing you make other people feel.
That's great. I think that's a great way to end the show. I mean that's a great advice.
Remain teachable. I love that.
Remain teachable. Yes, that's what I was getting at. Remain teachable. Don't think that you know everything.
Like during the pandemic, I literally took the time to study with 2 special effects artists, where I paid them money to sit with them and talk with them. And like I did this one sculpture, and I paid I paid Brian Wade, just an amazing industry professional special effects artist. Probably the best thing I ever did in my life for my career. I sat with him for 16 hours, and we, not consecutively, but over a period of a few days. And I would just watch him sculpt and ask him questions while he sculpted. Then he'd say, "Do the other side," and do the other side, and I would repeat what he was doing. And if you reach out to these special effects artists, most of them are thirsty to share their knowledge with you. And of course, I'm respectful of their time, and never work for free. Ever, when it comes to being an artist, ever. There's always some form of compensation that can be negotiated.
Sure. Never
work for free. When you do that, you damage and you belittle the industry and your own work and the work of everyone around you. And so that's why. And besides, what you put in, you're going to get back tenfold. Don't have the fear of financial insecurity when it comes to chasing your dream. The part of the actual dream is the chase.
Yeah.
You're never going to get to the end.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Awesome parting words, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Yeah, it has been a pleasure as always. I've actually had the pleasure of speaking with you before, and I think that you had said something very similar. Start now.
So now,
Do it right now. Don't wait till you have this, you have that. Take your phone, get out there, make a movie, write a story. And you obviously, still put that out there. Great. Again, parting words. Thank you so much for taking some time out with us this evening.
thank you, Rick. Thank you, Otis. I hope you all are having an amazing October so far.
We
If
are.
you ever come out to LA, we need to get together, talk shop, maybe come and be on a movie set with me. And yeah, let's make some movies. And for anybody out there, reach out to me. I'm easily accessible through Instagram and Facebook. And let's make a movie. And one last thing, you can check my entire portfolio out at joecastrofx.com. Everything's there, all my credits, all my work. Yeah, there you go.
There you
All
go,
right, Joe. Once again, it was our pleasure, brother.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your Wednesday afternoon, gentlemen. Peace.
Take care,
Have
my
a good
friend.
night.
I mean, that hour flew by. The stories and everything. We could have sat there for
really
two
did.
sessions.
Yeah, I mean, I really could have sat there, forever. He's a talker, and he's a very busy guy. He's got a lot of knowledge to put out there.
Oh, yeah. Loved it.
Wow, it was awesome. But hey, all good things must come to an end. But fear not, because boy, we're getting a little crazy and weird up here in the horror junkie center of command here. The Sinister X Sisters adult rock and roll variety show / circus is coming to town. Boy,
Can't wait.
I'm kind of, I can't wait for this one either. Maybe I'll be able to get to see some fire eating.
You never know. With those girls, you never know.
I was hoping to with Jack, but I think there was a little misunderstanding of what fire eating was. I was waiting for him to shove something down his throat. But maybe, just maybe, it can happen next Wednesday. We'll see. Again, yay. Go over there, follow us, hit our YouTube up, subscribe. We've had some new subs here of late. So yeah, go over there, sub, and be notified. Happy Friday the 13th. Molly says Friday the 13th is almost here. Happy Friday the 13th. You have Death Walks Among Us Part 2.
Death Walks Among Us, the teaser comes out on Friday. Plus, also on Friday comes the special edition of the Indie Horror Junkie magazine, the special Friday the 13th edition. So you got to check it out. Go to the website, indiehorrorjunkie.com, and you'll be able to download it on Friday. And that's our best issue so far. And loving every minute of it.
This is awesome. Yeah. And if you've missed any of the last issues, you can download them right there, indiehorrorjunkie.com. Hey, Rick, great show. Thank you, sir. And we'll see you
next Wednesday. Take care, brother.